Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, I expected the markets to be selling off this week, and based off the technical analysis I see, I believe that is still going to be the case. Now, you guys will see this video roughly 24 hours later, so we'll see if I was right or wrong. But based off the technical analysis, I believe I'm going to be right of there being a final pullback before we go up. Now, let's break this down. We can see that we have a high over here, right? We have a high. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we formed the typical order block type of structure, right? So we were anticipating to be pulling back into this zone somewhere over here. And we can see we did that exactly for 2 days. But what do you also notice? Well, I notice the 2 daily candles here ended fairly weak and also formed a lower high, right? So this is just how you do technical analysis practically. Once you have experience, you just stick to the basics and what you see, right? You don't say, oh, but this or that or that or this. I personally believe the markets are rigged. I truly do. I believe when they show reversal signs, they're going to reverse. When I believe there's break of structure, I believe, the analysis never lies. It's, if anything, me getting the analysis wrong, but the analysis never lies. So this is what I see, right? I see a high, I see a low over here in terms of daily candle closes. And then I could see us, making our way back up, getting rejected for 2 days in a row, creating a lower high. And we also broke this trend line. Right, we can see that there are 3 taps over here. Now, I know some people are a little bit 50-50 when it comes to trend lines, but trust me, ladies and gentlemen, from what I've seen with crypto, trend lines work very, very well. Like, they really genuinely do. So we can see multiple, taps over here. We broke through it, and we are also in this order block over here. You can see over here, boom, we are in this order block. So we tapped into this candle. We're selling off, we're breaking the structure, we have been creating lower highs. Now, what I want to see for maximum confirmation, of course, is closing below this area over here. The reason why I want to close below these lows is because, ladies and gentlemen, that would officially form a lower low. Now, I still think even if we do close just even a break even, I do believe, if anything, the next daily candle will go up. All right, we'll go up for a final pullback, whether it's to 109K or a little bit higher to 110K, more or less in this range, doing something like this before it slams officially down, right? We have multiple points of liquidity, right? We have this zone over here, we have this zone over here, we have this zone over here. And even when we go down here, we can see, there's more liquidity here. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go back all the way to 100K. We're going to take all these points out. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. In fact, I think we're just going to pull down to this area over here of 103 to 104,000. Why? Because this is the last 4-hour order block. Okay, this is the last of the imbalance. We don't need to really correct anything here. You could debate maybe 100K, you could debate a little bit of imbalance here, but generally, right? Generally, I don't expect it to go too far, especially that global liquidity suggests we will pump next week, which we'll cover in just a second. Okay, so look, we have the analysis drawn out. Worst case scenario, I do believe there'll be some type of pullback, which most likely would be to 109,000. Reason being is because we do have, some structure over here, plus it go off the daily trend line to then slam lower. And the reason why I don't think it might go lower than like 103K is because it's the last of the imbalance, the last 4-hour order block, and we are expected to be pumping next week, right? So we're just out of time simply, right? We are simply out of time. You gotta remember these zones like over here, certain types of imbalances and, liquidity points, they can be corrected next cycle. Right? They really can. If we have a somewhat similar cycle, then we can very well pull back down to maybe like 90K, maybe at 86K at one point, and then just continue going up and restarting the cycle all over again, right? You got to remember that usually we retest off of, daily sorry, not daily, yearly candles, right? We can see, although I'm on a 6-month chart, boom, we can see if we go to the yearly, right? We retested perfectly. So if it was going to be the yearly, I would be all the way back down to 50K. Now, I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. I would be really, really doubtful unless we had a full on, crypto bubble, like a crypto, not necessarily crypto cycle, sorry, but a whole like crash, like a hardcore recession type crash. Then I could see us going to 50K. But other than that, it's most likely we are going to retest off of the 70s, low 70s. That is what I personally think is going to happen, right? Because we have multiple 6-monthly candles, boom, boom, and boom, right? Multiple. So, this can be very well a correction and where we tap into next cycle, especially that we did consolidate for months here. So it would just make a lot of sense. Plus we have, like I said, this structure on the left side where I'm removing the circle. So yeah, like we don't have to necessarily correct right now all the way down here. Okay. But look, ladies and gentlemen, the good side is, right, Bitcoin expecting to go down a couple thousand means you get altcoins cheaper for the final time. Now I have some zones drawn out on multiple coins, right? I like in my private community, I draw like there's no way these zones are going to hold. They just historically never hold, right? If we look at this, if we look at something like Ondo that I have drawn out, right? I have buy zones. Now you guys can obviously copy this now because I am showing it for free, but this is what I put in the Discord that look, I already expect this a couple days ago for all these key points to be getting taken out. And we have our first buy zone of 82 to 83 cents. And then we have a sniper buy zone at 76 cents if we do go that far, right? And for this case, Ondo would probably have to drop around 20%, I assume, just off the top of my head, which is a decent amount. Like, yes, tap off this. So 15 to 20% drop. It is kind of big, but it's also not the biggest thing in the world for crypto. It could recover within 2 days once we have bullish confirmation. Something like ZBEC has been going absolutely high. We called that out in the community when it was somewhere literally down here, right? So people that have bought it, including myself, are literally up a good amount. We call it around the 10th. Yeah, we are literally chilling at 3 times profit right now. So fantastic times, and this coin is going to continue to dominate the markets. I just know it is going to do that. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, right, if we go back to Bitcoin and we look at the weekly candles, we will see, right, we go to the weekly, sorry, that's actually the monthly technically. Boom, we remove everything so it's more simple. We add the indicator, global liquidity index, right? It's still stuck on yellow, even though I've literally changed it every time in the videos. And yeah, we can see, right, when we go off the weekly, boom, right, we talked about it before. Take the top of the liquidity, take the top of it to the last green candle, boom, 91 days. Take the bottom to the last red candle, 91 days. We are right here before it pumps again. And we can see, right, boom, take it from the bottom, go all the way here. We can see 91 days. So expecting, like I said, red. I've been expecting red for this whole week, and we are going to get red. I really do believe we are going to get red. And then I believe, of course, since global liquidity pumps all the way until 91 days, roughly mid-July, then I expect things, one final pullback, and then I expect green until mid-July, right? Practically. So it is that simple, ladies and gentlemen. It is that simple. If you want to learn how to do technical analysis to understand the markets, highly recommend joining Discord. There are videos there too. Or if you want to be more serious, then consider, getting the course, because you have all the education you ever need about crypto, Forex, and absolutely everything. The only important things for trading. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I should've, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets.